We're joined today by professional wrestling legend Jeff Jarrett. He is with All Elite Wrestling, AEW, as AEW Dynamite and AEW Rampage is taking place at the Target Center in Minneapolis on November 29th. Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
Hello, Justin. Jeff Jarrett, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. How you doing today?
Good. Justin, can you hear me clear enough? I have talked on my earbuds a lot today. I just want to make sure they're not losing power.
No, everything sounds great. I can hear you fine.
Good. All righty. Let's roll.
Excellent. Well, I got to say, it's an honor speaking with you. Thank you so much for joining me.
No, I appreciate you having us on. Looking forward to making a little return to the Twin Cities. So, good stuff.
Yeah, you're with All Elite Wrestling now, AEW, and I know you've been there for about a year or so. How's it been for you so far, being part of AEW?
You know, I wear a couple of hats, but I'll just say this. At this stage of my in-ring career, 37 years plus and going strong, I never thought I'd be having these kind of conversations, but I'm loving it. You know, the group that I'm with is some very, very close friends of mine. Sanjay Dutt, 20-year friend, Jay Lethal, 20-year friend. And, you know, we are, I say this, you know, not just as words putting together, but we're family. And I believe with my wife, obviously at my side, Karen, she brings a unique dynamic. And then the truly one in a billion Satnam Singh, you know, Satnam, born in India, came here as a young teenager to play basketball, IMG Academy, the first Indian-born player drafted in the NBA. I know our Timberwolves listeners out there will find that a very cool footnote, but he's just an amazing athlete, an amazing talent, amazing person, and he's really just getting started in this great business. So I'm very excited about what's going on, just coming off the heels of Full Gear and, you know, got to perform in the Kia Forum. So being a basketball junkie myself, it was pretty cool to go to the homeland of Showtime. And then, you know, outside the ring, I'm in business development and, you know, can't have a conversation nowadays without referencing Wembley. You know, just a couple of months ago in Wembley Stadium, not arena, the stadium, over 80,000 paid. Sure. Being a third-generation promoter, I can tell you that it was a very, very cool, surreal moment to walk out on that Sunday morning before the stadium filled up and just to kind of look around. And, you know, there are iconic venues that I've performed in from Madison Square Garden on down, but to be able to perform in the most iconic soccer stadium, those folks call it football, it was really a treat, really a blessing, and it's just very, very cool to see where the business is at and AEW under, you know, we were just named one of the startups. It's hard to believe that you'd say a startup has done the things that AEW has done in 5 hours of network primetime television on. It's very, very cool. So to say that I'm excited and honored and very grateful to be a part of it would be an understatement, Brandon.
Yeah, it's great, the things you've been doing, and somehow you seem like you've been busier now in this stage of your career maybe than you've ever been before.
Well, you know, with social media, folks now, I guess it's easier to keep tabs, if you will, on us. But no, I'm active on social media, of course, but I've always liked to wear a lot of hats in the industry, being born and raised in the industry. My grandmother, I like to say that she did everything but wrestle. She, you know, worked her way up to what we would call a CFO, a chief financial officer, but she was a promoter for many, many years, really made it in a man's world in those days. And then my father, obviously, he wrestled and promoted as well. So it's in my blood. I love it more today than I ever have. And like I just referenced, you know, it used to be that wrestling would kind of bounce in and out of pop culture. You know, I'm talking about even going back to the 60s and 70s. But now you can just look around and say that professional wrestling is a part of pop culture.
Definitely. And you mentioned making your return to Minnesota and, of course, AEW Dynamite and AEW Rampage coming to the Target Center in Minneapolis here on November 29th. Will you be wrestling on those shows? Do you know who you might be working with?
That's a TBD always. You just never know what's going to happen. You know, I'll say this, that our Wednesday night show, our flagship show on TBS starts 7 o'clock. The broadcast does on Central. And so, it is something that I like to say we start in fifth gear and we really don't slow down. So it's exciting, and you never know who's going to wrestle, who's not. The Continental Classic tournament is up and running, but there'll be more than just the Classic. So it's an exciting time, to say the least. But I can't promise you I'll be in the ring, but I can promise you I'll have my guitar with me.
Well, Jeff, I know you've had a lot of history with wrestling here in Minnesota, dating all the way back to, working Super Clash back in the AWA. Do you have any favorite Minnesota memories from working around here?
Just when you kind of think back through the years, and I was just my podcast, My World with Jeff Jarrett, we actually just kind of referenced the day. I remember specifically where I was at when I found out. I still call him Jesse the Body Ventura when he became the governor of Minnesota. But my father and Vern Gagne were peers, and so the Gagne family and the Jarrett family have a long-standing working relationship through the years. And back in the territory days, AEW, is just they ran Minneapolis and Chicago and San Francisco and Denver and a lot of the big markets. But, you look at, I got the honor of wrestling Nick Bockwinkel, who was a mainstay in the AEW for a lot of years. Became very good friends with Bobby Heenan and Mean Gene Okerlund. And, you just kind of go all the way down. And of course, Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig. And then, Minnesota is, in a lot of ways, I'm from Nashville, but Memphis, Tennessee was a hotbed of wrestling. When you kind of look at through the years, at one time, you could turn on the television and see there was a lot of talent that was from right there in the Minneapolis area. So I've got a ton of memories. It's funny you referenced Super Clash, but that was an early memory of mine. It was, I guess, maybe one of the very first big shows I was on and big pay-per-views. But, I have worked in the market a long time, and it is a market that obviously – I say this, is very educated in professional wrestling because it's so much rich in history. Well, we're going back to the 50s, the amount of wrestling that's been seen in the Minneapolis Twin City area.
Definitely. Well, Jeff, you've been right in the middle of all the, I guess I'd call them boom periods as of late, with wrestling, of course, through the 80s and then in the late 90s again, up through now. I wanted to ask your thoughts, I guess, on wrestling itself and how far the boundaries have been pushed. It seems like we can't really push things any further as far as how much the wrestlers are doing in the ring these days.
Well, buddy, we always kind of say that, don't we? They're like, there's no way they're going to cross that line. And of course we do. But it always is something that, the saying, life imitates art and art imitates life. That's a very kind of rings true in professional wrestling. But when you kind of look at society, I mean, we've got Fight Forever, our video game out, but you kind of look at even the evolution of video games. Nothing goes in reverse in life. And so, the society, I'll call it the good and bad of it. It just keeps progressing in different boundaries in different ways. And with our, basically our window to the entire world in our pockets with our phones and the capabilities that it has, we can be connected to folks in Mumbai, India, Brisbane, Australia, and, literally all points in between. And so just with technology and society and everything that goes with it, that's kind of how society progresses. And so wrestling, again, mirrored that. And, coming off Full Gear, our pay-per-view in Los Angeles, there was some athleticism showed that night. It was just unbelievable. High-impact moves and the matches that go with it. And so that's just how the business, and I've been around long enough to know that, the old saying, follow this, wrestling business always ends up somehow, some way of following it.
I know you've wrestled for just about every major promotion in the last, as you mentioned, 37 years or so. You've held numerous titles. You've been in several halls of fame. You've been a four horseman. I mean, is there anything else in your career you still haven't done that maybe you'd like to before you hang it up?
I do. I call it a blessing every time I get the opportunity to lace up the boots. And, me and Tottenham and Jay, we have different goals and different mindsets. And we all, even at this stage of my career, I want to get better every day. That old Toby Keith song, ain't as good as I once was, but good once as I ever was. With us six, I mean, with us three, maybe a trios title could be in the future. I don't think I've been a trios champion, but there's a couple of things. But every day that I put my mindset on, I want to do everything I possibly can to further Satnam's career, because, if he continues to work and has the right work ethic and the mindset and continues to grow and blossom as a performer, I truly believe the sky's the limit. His native country is a country that is rich in kind of the recipe for professional wrestling, Bollywood, their version of Hollywood, and then sport. And so I just think that we are literally watching, observing a legend in the making in Satnam, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Excellent. Well, again, Jeff, you've done just about everything there is in the ring, and I know you've done a lot out of the ring as well. I don't know how often you're asked about this, but I wanted to ask your memories of appearing in the film Life with Mikey with Michael J. Fox. Do you have any memories from that?
Oh, sure. Shot it in Toronto. My dad's business partner and maybe a childhood hero, but everybody knows him as Jerry the King Lawler. That was a movie part that just kind of came out of the blue. And I can tell you this, that we filmed that, like I said, in Toronto in a soundstage, but that ring was not a wrestling ring. It was a boxing ring, and it was like falling on concrete. So 2 days of shooting and falling on concrete wasn't the best experience. But I tell you what, Michael J. was a absolute pleasure to work with and a real pro's pro. And you kind of look at the time, there was kids in the scene, and they've gone on to have Hollywood careers. And it was truly a wonderful experience. And candidly, I'm sitting here in my office in Hendersonville, Tennessee, and I'm glancing over. I still have a picture of me and Michael J. Up in my office going back all those years.
Excellent. Well, Jeff, again, AEW is coming to the Target Center in Minneapolis here November 29th. Is there anything else maybe coming up for you? I know you mentioned your podcast, and I know you're into baseball. You got a lot of things happening. Is there anything we should be watching out for?
Oh, man, I appreciate you asking. All my social media handles are at Real Jeff Jarrett. And, I'm a part of a video game and partners in that, WrestleQuest. You can go to WrestleQuest.com. And like you said, appreciate you talking about my podcast. It drops every Tuesday morning, and My World with Jeff Jarrett. And that's something that we literally do a deep dive on different stories and events and characters of my career. So I have a blast doing that. So I appreciate you giving us some time. But most importantly, folks, if you're listening to this and you want to see a action-packed show like you've never, ever witnessed before live, because I've said this many, many times. Matter of fact, I had some folks that came to the forum last week that had never been to a live wrestling show. And I told them, you come back through the backstage area after the show's over and you tell me that it isn't the most spectacular live event you've ever seen. And they did. I don't say that tongue in cheek. I say that honestly. So if you want to see the very best live wrestling show, come on out and go to AEWTix.com, get your tickets, and see everybody out at Dynamite. Looking forward to returning to the Twin Cities.
Wonderful. Jeff, again, I'm a big fan of yours, and it's been an honor speaking with you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
No, I appreciate you having me on. I really appreciate the support. So any promotion, that's my second nature, promoting shows. So, buddy, any promotion you can give us is greatly appreciated.
All right, we'll do our best. Thanks again, Jeff.
Thanks, guys.
And again, that was the one and only Jeff Jarrett, as he'll be with AEW as they come to the Target Center in Minneapolis for AEW Dynamite and AEW Rampage, both taking place on November 29th.